Good afternoon, Partnership Realtors. Good to be back with you guys again. Totally excited on doing a class today, a new one. We're representing a seller and we're doing a lease, okay? We're going to be filling out a residential lease. Now, a residential lease will mean, for example, a single family home, a townhouse, a villa. It could also be a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex. But there are two different leases in our system. We have a residential lease, and we also have a condo lease. So if you're if you're leasing out a condo, you need to realize that this is an apartment. What's the difference between a condo, a townhouse, or a villa, or even a duplex or a triplex? So we're going to go over today as a residential. So we're going to be filling out a residential lease for you. And we have a lot of more things that we want to show you. So come right with us and we'll start this class. Guys, how are you today? Good to have you guys sitting here. Good to see some students here with some realtors. Haven't seen realtors sitting here in quite a while. But we want to start the class, and we're going to do a residential lease. So we're going to put in to our MLS. We're going to start with the MLS. Now remember, these classes you can see them through Facebook. You can also see them through YouTube. Whenever you go to Facebook, do click on like. That way, any upcoming classes, you guys are going to be able to get notifications that the classes that are upcoming. If you go into YouTube, also please click on subscribe. That way, you will be notified whenever the next upcoming class is coming in. So today we're going to be doing and filling out an actual residential lease. Now remember, we did a class a few days ago. You can see them on YouTube, and it's a contract to lease. So we went over doing a contract to lease, filling out a contract to lease. What is a contract to lease? It's totally different to the lease itself. A contract to lease is nothing more than a mutual agreement between the tenant and the landlord on what the terms of the lease are going to be. So also on that contract to lease class that you can see on YouTube, you're going to see all the following steps, what the requirements are. Everything's going to be there. So we're really not going to go of what the following steps are, what you're going to need, because all of that you can go back onto YouTube and you're going to see a contract to lease. You're going to have everything done. So what today's class is nothing more than a follow-up of the previous class. So we've got a listing. We've got a landlord and we've got a tenant that have agreed upon some terms, and it's typically always the listing agent that prepares the lease. Okay. Now, there are two types of leases that we went over. Remember, a condo is totally different to a residential. So today we're only going to do a residential lease. And do please keep in mind that any of the following steps that you need, all that you have to do is go into the previous class of contract to lease. So what we're going to start doing right now is just doing an actual lease. So we want to open up our MLS that we have open, and we're just going to show you how to prepare it. So we have a property that we have selected here. So what you're going to do is you're going to open up your Form Simplicity, and we're going to prepare a package. So let's go to Form Simplicity, and you are going to create a new go to Home, and now you're going to go to Packages, and you're going to go down to Rentals, and we're going to do a residential lease. We're going to select the document. There we go. Residential lease for single family and duplex. Now, we're going to come up and create a transaction. So what you could do is go to you have your MLS report open, and let's just go copy paste the address. So copy paste the address. Again, this is just a test trial. You can do mini tests at home. The more you practice, the better you're going to get. Okay? So you're going to copy paste, you're going to come back, and you're going to put it under the street address. Now, if you want, for the transaction name, you could just put same as the property. Something really extremely important I don't want you guys to do is hit save yet, because if you hit save, it's gonna select and save every single document that's in that form package. I want you guys to select forms only. So you're going to click on that, select forms and files, and now you click save. This document and your package has already been saved. So I want to go back to home page because I want to show you guys where to find this afterwards, in case let's say you have to stop what you're doing and you got to start over an hour later, 2 hours later. This is saved for forever. As long as you're a realtor, this is going to be saved. Now, you don't go to your form packages to find this because it's already created. The form packages is only to create a file. You have to go to active transactions. So go there, and now we're going to find our file. There's our file. So let's click on that. So now I want to check mark and the document I want filled out. If you had 2 or 3 more documents in there, like a lead base, an HOA disclosure, things like that, you would select them all. But in this case, we only have one. Once you select it, you're going to come there to content, and then you're going to go back into your MLS, and now you're going to copy paste the MLS number. Copy paste it, and you're going to go back into your form simplicity, and right there where it says enter MLS number, we are going to paste it. And you're going to hit import MLS. Now, here's the thing. This is the document, you want to select you want to select the property. Okay. This right now, you're still under the content page, but we're not going to fill this out. This is something that we've done, other classes that you can look up, e-signing classes. You could also look up the contract to lease. Once you fill this completely out, okay, this is going to be like your preliminary page. Once you fill out this preliminary page, it's truly going to fill out more than about 50% of all your forms, including your contract to lease. But we're not going to do that today because we've done this already in other classes, and you can review this under the contract to lease. You can go to YouTube and you can see under contract to lease how to do this. So we're just going to close this right now, and we want to go over how to fill out a lease. So we're going to open up a lease that's already been, again, these are just examples, you know. Of course, the names, they're not fictitious, but they're not real landlords, they're not tenants. We're just making up, landlords and tenants here and realtors and so forth. So we're going to open up the document here, the lease. Now remember, once you've done the content and filled it out and hit save, 50% of this is completely filled out. Now you need to fill out the rest. So we're going to go down here under the first page. It's the realtor. So you're going to be there under the first place. This is a lawyer disclosure. We're realtors. We're not lawyers. So we're not making a lease. We're not designing a lease. All that we're doing is just we're filling in the blanks. Okay? But we're realtors. We're not lawyers. We're not paralegals. So who's filling this out? In this case here, we're going to use our office manager, Guillermo Martinez, as the listing agent here. And he is the one preparing the lease for the landlord. So his name is going to go in 1, 2, 3, 4 different sections. Okay? So you as the listing agent, this is where your name as the listing realtor goes. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, actually five different sections. So we're going to go down a little further. Okay, if your clients do not read English, then you're going to select, and they're going to put their initials right there that they can read English, or if they can't read English, if they speak Spanish, they speak French, they speak Creole, any other language that we're translating this in, they're going to actually put their initials on the left-hand side. Then their name goes right there on the right where it says name. And then under language is what language did you explain this lease to them under? Was it Spanish? Was it Creole? You know, it could be any language. So now here's something extremely important for the realtors. You guys need to know this, okay? Every single page requires both tenant and landlord's initials, and also requires signatures from both agents. So you've got the listing agent, you've got the tenant's agents. Tenant's agent, can't even speak today, huh? So everyone has to sign, because you do not have a fully executed lease if there's any signatures missing, if there's initials missing. So you want to make sure that every signature is there, every initial is there, dates are there. Now we have a fully executed lease. So here, make sure that the landlord's signature, the licensee, is going to sign. We're going to go down. Okay, in this box here, the landlord is actually myself. I'm going to put myself down as the landlord, Ismael Alvarez. So my name is going to go right there, and then the landlord's address is going to go down there as well too. So I'm using 1663, our office address, as an example of the landlord's home address. Well, and it doesn't have to be their home address. It's whatever address they want to receive mail, notifications, their payment at. So whatever address the landlord wants to use, it could be their office, it could be their home, a P.O. box. That's the address you're going to put there. Now the tenant, we're going to use Hannah Stern as a tenant today. So she's going to be our tenant. Guillermo Martinez is our listing agent. Now, landlord's information, their email, their cell phone, and tenant's information as well needs to be in the actual lease. Why? Because if the landlord needs to find the tenant's contact information, they could always go to the lease. Vice versa. If the tenant needs to find the landlord's information, they could always go to the lease, and the email is going to be there, the cell phone is going to be there, or whatever phone number they're using. Very important now is the property address. Again, when you guys put the MLS number and you hit import, it's going to import the address and everything in there. So it's going to put the address in there for you. Now, it's very important that you guys put down all the appliances that are going to remain and be part of this lease. And it's also very important that you guys take photos of the conditions, vice versa, whether you represent the tenant or you represent the landlord. Both want to have photos. Are there any scratches or there aren't any scratches? The appliances are brand new. Or did it have a stain? Things like that. But we want to put down the refrigerator, the washer, anything that's going to stay. Washer, dryer, dishwasher. We want to put everything in there. The next one is who's going to occupy this premises, this property. Now, who are the names that you're going to put down there is going to be the ones that are not on the lease. So these can be the children, grandparents, or someone. So you want to put their names there, and you also want to put their ages down there. Okay? So we're going to go up here a little bit. We used an example. We just put down 3-year-old son. Okay? So Hannah has a 3-year-old son we're going to put there. Now, the number 3 is the term of the lease. We're going to start it on the first of the month in May. So it's going to run for 1 year. And the total, if you guys, and this lease here is $2,350 per month. So up on number 4, what you guys are going to put there is the total of 12 months. So that's really simple. Just take the monthly payment, multiply by 12 months, and it's going to give you the total. In this case, it's $28,200. So that goes there. Now, how is that $28,200 going to be paid? Well, it's going to be paid in installments, on monthly installments. Now, we've had seasonal rentals. We've had corporations that have come and paid it in full for the entire year. But in this case here, our tenant is paying it under installment payments on a monthly basis. So it's due on the first of each month. And how much is the tenant going to be owing? $2,350. So again, if it's in full or anything like that, you want to fill it out underneath. But in this case, it's under installments. But as you can see there, tenant and landlord initials are required in every single page of this residential lease. Very, very extremely important. Are the Florida revenue taxes included in that rent? If they are included, then you want to put 0 down. But if it's not, then we want to put in the Florida revenue tax, whatever it comes, what it comes out to. But in this case here, it's already included, so we're going to put down there 0. The payment here, the installment payments are $2,350 per month. So we want to put it down that it's going to be paid per month and not the one underneath it that's in full. So it's per month. Now, who do the payments go to? Well, to the landlord. So in this case, lucky me, it's me. I'm going to be receiving $2,350 per month from Mrs. Stern. So where do I want it to go to? The landlord. Well, it could come to a P.O. box. We're going to put it here. It could go into their checking account. We're going to put it there. It could be mailed to their home address. We're going to put it there. So in this case here, we put down TD Bank and we put down the account number. And this is where we want our tenant, to make their monthly payments every single month. How is this tenant going to make their payments on a monthly basis? Well, they can make it in cash. They can make it in personal checks. They can make it in money order. They can make it in cashier's checks. And there's something nowadays which is a very useful tool, Zelle. So you want to put down if they allow it. Now, remember, your tenant has to go to their bank, make sure that their bank has Zelle. Almost every bank's got it. And they have to sign up for it. And then it's very easy to use. So it's just from their cell phones, they're going to be able to make this payment through Zelle. Requires a tenant. This is money orders. If the payment bounces, if they write a check and the check it's got non-sufficient funds, it's just the non-sufficient. I mostly do commercial leases. I really don't do a lot of residential leasing. So I want to make sure, and I asked my assistant, that I am giving you guys the right information here. Let me read it for a second. Okay, it's a worthless check. So we got a bad check here. If a bad check comes in, then there is a fee involved that we can charge. So basically, it's 5% of whatever the monthly fee, the monthly payment is. So actually, the monthly payment in this one here is $2,350. 5%, I think it came out to $117.50. But we just rounded off to $100. And then we're going to specify how does the landlord, and this is the landlord's decision on how they want the future payments to come. So we're going to write it down under if they want it cash, if they want it money orders, because they don't want to accept any more personal checks. So the total now on number 5, this is going to be the total of the upfront fees. So if there's an upfront fee of the first month, last month, and security, and if it's $2,350, if we add all 3 of those, it's going to add up to $7,050. So that's the upfront fee that you guys are going to collect first. And how you're going to collect that, you do not collect it on a personal check. Because if the check bounces, it creates a huge problem for the landlord. And you're also not going to collect your commission either. But it's a major problem for the landlord. So the first initial funds they need to be a cashier's check or money order. Okay. Afterwards, the actual tenants can pay again, as we showed you before, cashier's checks, money order, personal checks, or Zelle. So now, who are they going to make this $7,050? Who's going to be due to? It's going to be due to Ismael Alvarez. Lucky me again. This $7,000 is going to come to me. And where are the funds going to come to? You're going to put the address down to where the landlord wants the funds sent to. Whether it's going to be mailed to them, to a P.O. box, to an office address, or even to their an account. So their checking account there. So what's going to be due to them? Well, the first month's rent of $2,350, which is going to be due on May 1st. Then you've got the second month rent, the last month's rent of $2,350, also due on May 1st, and the security deposit, which is due as well. Now, the security deposit, we actually collected that one on the contract to lease. Once they accepted our contract to lease, remember the security deposit, actually it wasn't the security deposit, it was the first month's rent. It was the first month's rent. So we've got that one backwards there. I apologize about the mistake there, but it's the first month's rent that would be April 17th when we agreed. So let's change that. That's going to be April 17th when the contract to lease was actually accepted by both buyer and seller and initialed, and then because that's when it was due. So the security deposit was put in there. And then the first month's rent was put in there. Now, the security deposit will be due on May 1st. So we're going to change that from April to May 1st. Excellent. So now, if there were any pet deposits, it would go there. But in this case here, there isn't any pet deposits. But if they were, it would go right there where it says pet deposit or any other as well, too. So we want to go down now. Late fees. Late fees, again, usually we give them, some landlords, again, you're going to discuss all this with the landlord. And, sometimes they'll only give them a 3-day grace period, sometimes 4 days, 5 days. So this landlord, me, I was pretty gracious, and I did a 5-day grace period. And what is it? It's 4% of the monthly fee. So you need to do the math. $2,350 multiplied by 4% gives you a late fee of $94. So the landlord is entitled after the 5th of the month, of every month, if the check came in and arrived on the 7th of the month, the 8th, the 10th, the 15th of the month, okay, the landlord is certainly entitled to a $94 late fee. There's, again, pets. In this case, we didn't have any. So you want to check that off if they don't. Number 8, notifications and future notices, okay? Once you, as the realtor, you've done your job, you've rented the property, they've moved in, everything is fine, all future notifications really need to be between the tenant and the landlord. So Guillermo Martinez, which is you're the listing agent. Your name goes up on top to the landlord's agent, and then who is the landlord? I guess I am, Ismael Alvarez. And you want the landlord's phone number in there as well too. So the tenant knows that they need to get through to the landlord for any future, questions or concerns that they might have. Utilities. In the contract to lease, when we did the prior class, we put in there that all the utilities are going to be paid by the tenant except for the lawn maintenance. Well, we included pool service in this one here too. So everything is due by the tenant's going to pay for it, but the only thing that the landlord's going to pay for is going to be the lawn and pool service. So we included it in there. Now, number 10, this is something that, again, this is between the tenant and the landlord. You're going to check off what's the responsibility of the landlord, what's the responsibility of the tenant. That's just an example. Do not take it as a template. It's just an example. Every single lease is completely different. But one thing I do want to show you here is right down there where it says filters. That's something I recommend you put in there. The maintenance, that should be the tenant's responsibility of changing the monthly filters. But again, it's all negotiable. But we put it in there. Tenant shall notify the landlord. And, you know, again, I'm the landlord. There's my address and there's my phone number. Assignments. I recommend highly that these leases are not assignable. We don't want any subleasing unless the landlord permits it and allows it in writing, okay, with prior notice and notification to the landlord. So you want to put in there that it's not assignable. Keys for the dwelling, for the home. You're going to put in there if you're going to give them one set of keys or two sets of keys, garage door openers, one garage door or two garage door openers. In this case, we put one on each one of them. Now, keep seeing there, every single page requires initials from both parties. If there's a homeowners association, so if there is a gate and they have a clicker, if there are any fobs to get into the clubhouse, any clubhouse keys, you're going to want to put those in the next section. Now, if you did put in there, you gave them one fob, one gate key. When at the end of the lease, where's it going to be returned to? Again, the landlord. It's right there, returned to Ismael Alvarez, and there's the property address. The next one, number 13, is lead base. Do keep in mind there is really no difference between a sale and an actual lease. If the property was built before 1978, we need the lead-based disclosure to be put in there. So in this case here, this is a newer home. It was built after 78, so we're not going to fill that out. But if you're leasing out a property that is built before 1978, that entire section needs to be filled out, initialed by our parties. It's going to be initialed by landlord, by the tenant, and the agents. Again, service member, if they're part of our military, also it's in the contract to lease. It's going to be there. We need a notification. All of this stuff that we're going over a lot, you guys need to really thoroughly read the residential lease, get to know it really well, get to know it better than I do. I really haven't done a residential lease, I don't know in how long. But our realtors do, you know. I'm sure there are more qualified realtors and even office managers that could probably explain this a lot better than I can. But we're under a skeleton crew still here. But you guys need to really read this and get to know every single document and every paragraph. So Homeowners Association is very important. If there's an HOA there, please keep this in mind. This is extremely, extremely important, okay? It doesn't matter if you represent the tenant or if you represent the landlord. You guys cannot give access and have the tenants move in, okay, prior to getting what's called a certificate of approval from the HOA or the management company. Now, nowadays, they're not doing, on-site approvals. They're doing everything over the phone. So they're sending you these approvals in two ways. They might have the certificate, or it just might be something as simple as an email or a text. Once you get that email, you are going to copy the email. You're going to copy the email and print it out and put it part of your file, because that's going to show that the tenant was approved by the management company or by the HOA. Did they send it to you via text? Yes, your tenants are approved. Take a snapshot of that, email it to yourself, and it's got to go in there as part of your file. Okay. The rest here, I'm not going to go over it with you because we have a short window, but I do want you guys to, at home, you guys have time, do get to know every single paragraph there that we're going through. That actually we're skipping through it. Okay, the commission. Commission is really important. It's due by the landlord. Okay, so you're going to check off there who's going to pay for the commission. Now, in this case, on the left-hand side, again, the listing agent is Guillermo Martinez. He works for Partnership Realty. What's half of $2,350? What's $1,175? Now, in some cases, You might see in an MLS report 4.16 or 4.17. That's very easy for you guys to do the calculations. You just take the total amount and you multiply that by the 4.16, and it's going to give you the exact amount. Not exact to $11.75. It's 50 cents off and so forth, but it's very, very close. So you just multiply it by the annual, and then it's going to give you the exact amount that's going to be due to you. But in this case here, it's just 50% of the first month's rent. Now, we use Clint Robards as he's one of our office managers as well here, and we used him as the tenant's agent. He also works for Partnership Realty. He also works for Partnership Realty, and his commission is $11.75. Sorry, we're just having a little bit of difficulty here, but we'll have you right back up again in just a quick second. We'll have you up and seeing. So it's just a little small difficulty here, but it just takes a couple of minutes. Yeah, and also we're almost at the very end of the lease. I mean, the lease is so simple, especially when you guys practice this at home. The more you guys practice it, the better you get. Okay. Where are we? We're just at the signature page down at the bottom. We're down to the signature page. Up there we go. Okay. So we're right back here again. I apologize about that little difficult, but we're right back again. Now again, there we go. A tenant's agent. Sorry. Just go. There we go. Clint Robards. You want to put down the agent's name. You want to put what real estate agency they work for and what their commission amount is. Right here, this is a very important box. If the tenants leave early, God knows for whatever reason it might be, okay? We don't want the landlord liable for their personal belongings. So the landlord has the option to do what they want to. They want to put it in storage, but they should not be held liable. So make sure that that number 29 is definitely initialed by the tenants and or tenant. Now everybody needs to sign here, as I mentioned to you earlier. Everyone. You don't have a fully executed lease until all tenant or tenants have signed and until both realtors have signed. So we're going to go down further. And who completed this lease? Well, Mr. Guillermo Martinez from Partnership Realty. And the address is right there and his cell phone. The address is actually the office address and his cell phone is there. Early termination. Extremely important part here. Again, you have to discuss this with your landlord and the homeowner and find out what they want to do. This is just nothing more than an opinion. I'm just giving you my personal opinion on this, that I would probably say to a landlord, but it's the landlord's decision. It's their final decision, always. If it's a small lease, say it's $1,000, $1,200, $800, you know, it's almost not even worth, you know, if the tenants want to terminate the lease early to take them to court, small claims court, it's truly not worth it. So what the landlord could do is that he agrees to accept, you know, the last month and the security deposit. So it can't be any more than the first month's rent, which is the security deposit and the last month. So you'll check the very first box, I agree, and then you'll put in there, you know, the last month and security deposit amount. But again, it's the landlord's decision, the homeowners, and you need to speak with the homeowner. If they don't agree upon that, what they want to do is they want to pursue, you know, further actions, then we're going to mark, I do not agree, okay? So we're going to early termination. They need this property, the lease to be completed for that term. So again, there's more signatures that are required there. They all need to be required. And we're almost done with this here. Initials. Something, if you ever want to find Florida's statutes, you can go to Google, put Florida statute section 65.83 or something like that. And Google will automatically give you the statute of the law. So we want to come down here. So the remainder here, pages that you guys, I'm very, very positive you guys will be reading this tonight. Or maybe right after this, you see this class, you guys are going to sit down and go over and read all this. You should, because if your tenants are signing or if your homeowner, your landlord signing, they need to know what they're signing. So you guys really, we're just going to go through it, but you guys should know what they're signing. So you can explain it to them as a professional, which you are licensed by DBPR as a professional, as a realtor. So here we're going to continue going down, but we're actually done with a lease. And it's very simple once you get to know it. Once you get to know it, it is actually very, very simple to do. So I want to thank everybody for being with us again. And please remember, go to Facebook, hit like, go to YouTube, hit subscribe. All upcoming classes, you guys will get notifications on this. Have a great one.